This past weekend, I was lucky enough to get to watch Dune and Dune Part 2. Coming in, I had a vague memory of liking Dune, but had rated it a 3.5 out of 5, which was shortly after its original release. Upon rewatch, I was amazed at how off the mark I was. Denis Villeneuve has made some astounding films: Prisoners, Incendies, Sicario, and Arrival, to name a few. But I found Dune Part 1 to be right in the mix, and honestly my fourth favorite film currently. The world building was on point and mind-blowing. While I have yet to read the books because I'm partially illiterate, I can imagine this was the dream scenario when it was announced that this would be put to film. While we're here, I ask that you subscribe to the channel. I have a ton of movie-related videos coming up, along with an in-depth Mindhunter review and Dragon Ball GT review that you won't want to miss. With all the hype around Dune 2, I didn't really think I would be all that blown away, which is a somewhat cyclical phenomenon in film. A movie is good, gets hyped up to the moon with uber high ratings. People come in expecting the sun and the moon. They are disappointed because it didn't live up to their high expectations. The average rating drops a bit, and then the film finds its equilibrium over time. I can't say that this won't happen with some other people and how they view this film, but I will say that this lived up to every bit of the hype, and dare I say, is one of the best science fiction movies I've seen, right next to Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. Now, you can very well criticize my opinion. I'm one of those who prefer Solaris over Stalker after first viewing of these two films, and again, I'm partially illiterate. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly summarize some of the aspects that made this film feel like a special movie. Like some of the males watching this, I was beginning to hate the great Timothée Chalamet, a little bit like Taylor Swift come the end of the NFL season. He was Hollywood's chosen one in the lead up and early part of the 2020s, and is still that, quite frankly. I think my original dismissal of Dune when it came out was because I was jaded, or maybe a little bit jelly, that he was being dosed in praise. I thought he was great in this movie, and quite frankly, this cast is dripping with talent. While it's easy to dismiss people within this cast as overrated, and yes, some of them may very well be that, there is serious talent and most definitely star power in this film. Chalamet, Zendaya, Bardem, Brolin, Butler, Pugh, Walken, and Skarsgård, just to name some of the heavy hitters. While this on its own does not make a film great, it does create a spectacle that a blockbuster should aim to present in big budget films like this. Next and most special of this film is how it makes each planet feel special, which is tied directly to one of my favorite scenes of the film. In a so stupid, simple move that filmmakers from years past will likely bonk themselves on the head for not thinking of first, Dune 2 has Feod Rotha Harkonnen shown about to take place in a sort of Colosseum-esque gladiator-style duel with the survivors of House Atreides, and this scene is on the planet of Giedi Prime, where the sun is so bright it washes out color. The idea of this ties logically in with the character design of Feud. As in an overbearing sun climate, his Harkonnen lineage has stayed indoors, thus creating the sort of naked mole rat type of look. In one thrilling, intense, and violent scene, we gain knowledge about the people under the Harkonnens, bloodthirsty, Feud as being psychotic, violent, risk-taking, and a skilled combatant, with some also shown in the lead-up to this scene. And we completely differentiate this planet from Arrakis without having to leave the stadium grounds of the fight. While this is maybe the best example of this, Dune Part 2 is filled with very thoughtful scenes that give us a lot of information about what's going on, in a film where there's plenty information to ascertain efficiently and effectively, which this film does those two very well. The other aspect I love about this story itself is the Bene Gesserit. I know this goes back to the original source material, but Villeneuve and team did not drop the ball in making the secret society pulling the strings behind the scenes feel so intriguing. From Dune 1, we're introduced to the society as Paul must pass an initiation of sorts, whilst understanding that his mother Jessica is also part of the society and sought out Leto, Paul's father, in hopes of influencing the House Atreides. Learning of the complex game within games going on here, and how those among the society are jockeying for power as they influence those who have it, is terrific. This is expanded as we learn of Pugh and Sado's involvement in the Bene Gesserit and how they become prime players moving forward, which is just super interesting for me. I've diminished the intrigue of this when talking about Emperor Palpatine in my Fantasy Villains Ranked video, which you should check out, by the way, but this hits the spot even more in how they influence Paul into either trying to manipulate their game or maybe blindly falling into it is what makes the upcoming sequels so juicy, in my opinion. There are tons of other just as amazingly done aspects of this film that deserve credit, like the seamless CGI and costume design and production design that make you feel fully immersed in other worlds. But the next and last point I will make that made me love this film is the ending. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you've gotten this far relatively unscathed as far as spoilers go. But this is the time to pause, watch the movie, come back if you don't want spoilers. The fight between Paul and Fjoyd is so great that I was kind of in shock that they were giving it to us in this film. I've seen the Hobbit series, I've seen Harry Potter, and I've seen the Avengers movies. While this isn't the big baddie anymore, he's built up to feel like he could be, especially someone like myself who hasn't read the books. I'm sitting here thinking we won't see these two young bulls lock horns until next film or beyond, but we get hand-to-hand combat where Paul is seriously injured and Fjoyd killed. It was thrilling, it was badass, and it was such a climactic ending, and is why I think this film lives up to the hype. Across the Spider-Verse just did something completely opposite. It ends in a cliffhanger. And while I still like that film, I felt like it diminished that film slightly. Dune 2 built up what we wanted to see, whilst establishing even more grand pathways beyond, and it could give us that huge moment at the end without blowing its wad, and that is what more franchises should seek to achieve in the future. I gave this film a 4.5 out of 5. It's currently my 50th most favorite film of all time, and I think it's a masterpiece. I hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe for more, and I will catch you on the Flippity Floop. Bye, y'all.